Good morning, Pelham Road. Happy Friday to you. You know, our Fridays have become these sort of interactive Fridays where I make a request and you try to comply. Last week, got several good book recommendations from things y'all are reading. Checked out several, ordered one, so I'm looking forward to it. So thank you. This week, the interactive activity is show me a picture. In the comment section below, put up a photograph. Maybe it's something already on your phone of your family or something one of your kids has done that's funny. Or maybe you want to take a fresh photo of the lawn and of your garden and something that's actually blooming outside. So you pick, but send us a photo that inspires us and encourages us. Okay? This morning I have a passage to read from Matthew 5. Before I read it, I want to set it up this way. It appears to me that our mind works this way. You tell me a story about a weather disaster you were in, say a tornado. Well, when you finish that story, I tell you a story about a weather situation I was in, maybe, a hurricane in New Orleans for one. And so you tell a story and it sort of sparks my memory to tell another story, okay? If you were to tell a story about, say, some generosity, somebody, you recognize somebody is very generous, and so you tell their story, I might chime in and talk about my mother's generosity. And that is just, at least to me, the way our mind sort of functions, that you prompt me with something. It's like serving a tennis ball to me, and I volley it back to you with a similar story. So that initial story, that serve, so to speak, what triggers that in our mind? What triggers us to go to certain places and to tell certain stories? And when I read Jesus in the New Testament, I oftentimes think of, what was he thinking? What story did he have in mind? What experience was going on in his life that at that moment, this was the compelling thing to say? So, this is from Matthew 5, beginning with verse 21. You've heard that it was said to those of ancient times, you shall not murder. And whoever murders is liable of judgment. But I'm going to say to you that if you're angry with a brother or a sister, you'll be liable to judgment. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift. Leave it on the altar and go. And first be reconciled to your brother or your sister, and then come and offer your gift. Curiously, I wonder if Jesus was thinking about his own siblings and conflicts that they may have had. Or was he thinking about some experience where he had witnessed someone at the altar who he knew was at odds with their family or at odds with people, and yet they went to the altar just as if they were as if everything was all right. I wonder what was going on in Jesus' mind. And that always leads me to the place where my imagination takes over. And in my imagination, I think when Jesus comes to tell this story and he's trying to make his point about how things get out of hand between brothers and how you can't let things get out of hand, I think his mind goes back to what he remembered hearing about Cain and Abel. The first murder in the Bible is fratricides. It's brother killing brother. The first conflict, war in the Bible, is a religious war. It's over one man had an altar an offering that was acceptable to God, and the other man thought his altar was just as good and his offering was just as fine, but he's upset. And the conflict is there. And Abel dies. And I think Jesus might be remembering how that got out of hand and how long before it came to blows that somebody should have went to the other, left their gifts on the altar because the gifts are not nearly as important as the reconciliation, and reconciled with them. That reconciling is the preamble to worship. You know, we don't think of it like that, do we? We probably worship every Sunday with some sort of tension in relationships, some sort of conflict in our life. But it appears that Jesus was saying, you know, these situations of reconciling take precedent over opportunities to worship. They are so important to reconcile with one another that you should just leave your offering on the altar. Just don't even bother with it. Not because it's unimportant, but just because it's not as important as you reconciling with another. And I made this little list of, it's sort of the story of the human race, briefly told. A man and a woman had two sons, Cain and Abel, Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau. A certain man had two sons, and the younger one asked for the inheritance. And the older one, well, he pouted out in the field. And then a certain God had two children, Sarah and Hagar, Jew and Christian, Japanese and American, Asian and African, Hispanic and Indian. You see how the story just keeps getting told? It just gets repeated. It starts with Cain and Abel, and now we just fill in the blank with two people. I mean, Christianity is not complicated, but it is difficult. I mean, you understand, and I understand. Jesus' point is you're to reconcile with the people you have conflicts with. These relationships are valuable and important, and you shouldn't let things get out of hand. But we do, because it's complicated. No, because it's difficult. True religion is founded on the miracle of reconciliation. Our reconciliation with God and our reconciliation with our brothers and sisters, our spouses, our neighbors, our enemies. I mean, that's not complicated, is it? But it is difficult. We've got some work to do. Let's leave our gift on the altar and instead spend a day reconciling with those that are valuable and important to us. Have a great day.